Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Could you send us a note if you can hear us, just to make sure that we are actually live? That would be really lovely. Just send us a little note in the chat side onto the left of your computer. Well, good morning, everybody. Catherine and I are here for the Profitable Salon Owner, where our motto is
Get salon owners profitable fast.
That's us. We're the fast girls.
Okay, nobody has let us know that you can hear us. Can you please type something in and say, yes, I can hear you?
Yeah, Alexa, I think you're on, so perhaps if you can hear us. Oh, thank you so much. You're wonderful.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Last thing we want to do is be gabbing away here and nobody hears a thing that we're saying. It's happened to us before.
True. And, as the pearls of wisdom drop off of our lips.
All right. There's not enough room in this room for her head.
Well, today is Thanksgiving in Canada, and we are grateful for so many things here on the West Coast. And for Catherine and I, as the two blondes at the Profitable Salon Owner, we're completely grateful that you've joined us today. And we are so grateful to Vagaro for always giving us the opportunity to share our business success and the success of some of the people that we know. And thank all of you for joining us today.
Excellent. So moving right along, here's what we look like. We put a new picture up this
I like
time.
that.
Yeah, we were out for a walk a couple of months ago, just before we did our webinar, and it was a beautiful day, and we took a selfie. And we don't have wine. Usually we have wine.
I know, and also we didn't have a selfie stick.
No,
I'm really
we didn't.
proud of us that we didn't have a selfie stick.
Yeah.
Maybe we should get one.
Oh, I don't think so. Not happening. So that's what we look like.
And our mandate is, of course, to share with you what we see in the industry, what's going on. Catherine and I are out and about talking to and calling on salons all over Western Canada and sometimes into the States as well. So what we learn, we want to share. So again, thanks for being here so that we can share it with you.
And our topic this week, we thought, what's in your future? Look into our crystal ball or your crystal ball, because we just really want to take today and talk about some of the things that we are seeing out there in the industry. And one of the disturbing things to me that we are seeing out in the industry, and it's been happening for a long time, but we want to touch base. Nobody really talks about it. I think it needs to be talked about. And we see a lot of this.
Out of business. And it's the saddest thing, Kath and I'll be going along, we're driving along, and we pass by a salon that we've called on or whatever, and we see a sign slashed across the window saying going out of business or closed for lease or some indication that business is gone. And it isn't just our industry that has seen some of these struggles, but we are seeing a real trend in what's happening in the salon business. And you have to think, okay, why is it happening? Because why it's happening will affect your future. And when we're talking about what's in your future, it's really important to be aware and cognizant of what's going on in the industry in general.
Absolutely. And we're not just talking about if you have a bricks and mortar business that this is happening. We're seeing a lot of people leave our industry. You're only in it for a short time for whatever reason, don't think you can make a career out of this business. And they try it for a little bit and then they're gone.
One of the sad things that we're hearing from a lot of the, particularly salons with a large number of stylists, where they're the ones that often hire a lot of the youngsters to train them and get them out into the industry. But what we're hearing is that the percentage of students that are coming out of the schools are not coming into the business. They're either going immediately to their home or they change their minds and they do something else.
Yeah. And I find that really interesting because I know, on the West Coast, we have a high percentage of booth rental, chair rental, home-based businesses. But what's really interesting to me is it's really hard to start off and build your business from that mandate.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's, Kathia, last night at Thanksgiving dinner, one of the nieces was there, and she's just recently graduated from hair school in the spring. So I asked her, "Well, how's it going?" She says, I don't really like it. You know, my boss is a real B, and I think I'm going to look around and see if there's something else I might do with my life." And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, don't do that. It's just such an amazing career. You know, hang in there, stick it out. There's other things that you can do within the industry too. You don't have to work for a bad boss because there's so many people out there looking for stylists and service providers.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. And you know, I'm one of those people in my business in Winnipeg. You know, we have a large business there, and we are always hiring. We never stop hiring. We're always hiring estheticians. We're always hiring stylists, but we train.
exactly.
So, you know, we believe in training. So we train from the ground up. So we'll get into that as we go through, because I think it's really important.
I do too. And I think one of the things that I really believe is that, you know, yes, there's this problem out here, but what are we doing to really fix it and address it as professionals and as an industry? And one of the things that we do not see locally is we do not see our local salon and spa owners in the high schools talking about this industry as a career.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where it starts.
Yeah, and that's interesting because, you know, Aileen and I have been asked to go into high schools and talk about the beauty industry, which we have done. And every single time we go in there and talk, we have people come up to us after and say, "Thank you. You just helped me make up my mind."
Exactly. And they're saying they want to do it, not that they don't.
Yeah.
I like to think that we inspired them.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a great place to start. And again, we are not just talking to salons who have multiple staff. As we get through this, I want to talk specifically to the people that are independents out there, because I think it's equally critical for you to have a game plan for your future.
You got it.
So as we go along, when they get into this industry, whether you're a salon or whatever it is, everybody started great.
You all have great ideas and you have this passion, and you can see the colors of the walls of your salon or your home space or whatever it is. It's just, you're absolutely passionate about it and excited.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been there more than once. You know, I've been like so gung-ho, excited, eager. My confidence was at an all-time high. Yes, I was going to do this, you know, full of hope. And, you know, hopefully we all have goals, we all have dreams, and we all have plans. Now, my first couple of businesses, that's probably where I fell down the hardest, because I had my goals and dreams and plans, but it was all in my head.
Yeah, exactly. And also what happens when we get caught up in our day-to-day life, then we often forget about what the future is going to look like for us and the plans that we made. It's the same way as, you know, a couple of years ago, I moved into a new condo. And one of the first things I wanted to do was replace the chandelier in the dining room because it's really ugly. And guess what? That chandelier is still there because I've just adapted to it. I've forgotten that it was there. I've forgotten that I want to replace it, right? And I know that sounds like a simple comparison, but in the end, that's really what happens, is that we start to ignore what we see every day.
Yeah. And you know, going back to your goals and your dreams and your plans, it doesn't matter how long you have been in business. Today is a new day.
Yes.
And if anything that we say resonates with you, it's not too late.
In fact, it's never too late. And one of the things I really love about Mondays is, generally speaking, most of us have had a break over the weekend of some sort, although not necessarily in our industry. But Mondays are always that first day of the week. It's like a clean slate. It's a day to start over. It's a day to start instigating dreams. It's the start of a new beginning. Every day is the start of a new beginning. So don't ever think, oh my gosh, I'm too late to do this. No, today's the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will tell you, for myself, it took me a long time to really get the idea that I had to write these things down. And it wasn't until I was in extreme financial difficulty in my business that I actually found help. And I was determined that I was going to climb back up and I was not going to lose my business. I was not going to go bankrupt. And so that's when I started making a plan. And that was about 15 years ago.
Right.
So
when you were 12.
Yeah, right. I wish. So that was about 15 years ago. I had been in business since I was in my 20s. I was 47 when I actually decided to, to make a difference in my business.
And I think part of that is, Catherine and I are of an age where when you look back at the kind of schooling that we had too, is that they didn't teach us how to set goals, really. It wasn't a required course. And I really believe that one of the things that we should be doing is teaching people how to set goals, because I didn't start setting goals till I was probably in my mid-30s. And all through my 20s, I can't tell you how many jobs I had, because I had no idea where I was going, what I was doing, what I expected, what my life was going to look like. I was just floating, absolutely floating. And it wasn't until finally I was in my 30s that I started to develop goals. And it's really interesting because I started teaching goal setting. And of course, that's always reinforced for me the importance of setting goals and living up to them. And here's the difference. Here we've got two words together, goals and dreams. But the difference between a goal and a dream is the written word. You've got to write down your goals. We cannot stress it enough. And I know when we do our January webinar, we'll probably be talking about goal setting for the year. So goals are important.
Yeah. And I mean, all it takes is a little bit of time, a notepad and a cup of coffee or a glass of wine. I actually always write my goals down with a glass of wine. It gets my creative juices flowing. But again, it's a place to start. I highly encourage you to.
And just to add to that, Catherine, on ideals too, because one of the things ideals, it's really important to have an ideal of what you think. And I also think in line with that ideals is to have a mentor.
Yes.
Right. To have somebody that you can look up to. And perhaps, from a business point of view, perhaps it's a local salon owner who you think has done really well. Right. Look to them to see what it is that they've done. Reach out to people and ask them, what is it that you've done to make your life better or improve your situation?
And one of the things, when I was traveling all across North America, going in and out of salons in my coaching capacity, one of the things I often saw was that people put a lot more time and effort into what their physical space was going to look like than their actual business plan. What was your plan to get business? How were you going to make sure that you were going to get people in the door? So again, that's great. Your physical space needs to be nice, needs to look good, needs to, have that look. But it's what you do with all the other parts of your business that we'll touch base with as we get into our next slide.
And that was probably one of the most important things, because you and I know how many people we've talked to who've said, oh, I've spent like $100,000 on developing this space or more. And right. Okay. So tell us a little bit about your business plan. Oh, what business plan?
Yeah.
Build it and they will come.
It's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. Not today. So, here, these are my favorites. So most businesses, when they start, a lot of them don't last 2 years.
They don't. And in fact, if you can make it past the 2-year mark, then you probably know that you're probably on the right track. But the first 2 years are critical.
Yeah. And the middle years is when we see the biggest fallout from salon owners, whether chair renters. Then there's a number of reasons, and we're going to talk about all of them.
Well, I think the number one is even as a chair renter, you wear too many hats. You have to do it all. And whether you are a one-person business or whether you are a multifaceted business, in the end, if you're the one that's driving the business and doing it all, you're wearing too many hats.
And often it's because you think you don't have money to have a team of people to help you. And I think just by virtue of you all being with Vagaro, if you can use Vagaro to its fullest potential,
Holy smokes. Have you ever got a business asset on your side?
Absolutely,
right?
because that helps you with some of your financials, because it keeps all your reports and tracking. That's easy to do. Marketing.
Marketing, I think, is probably one of the biggest things, because
Absolutely.
most of us tend to fall down on the financial side, but the marketing is really what drives our business. And the Vagaro marketing options are incredible. So, make sure that you use your system to the fullest advantage. Start exploring if you haven't. Don't just rely on it for the scheduling, which is great, but look at all the other things that you can do with it.
Yeah, and if you are not comfortable with it, Alexa from Vagaro is on the call. If you have any questions or suggestions, type them in on our chat bar, because that's critical. We need to know how to read those reports. We need to utilize those reports.
We need to be able to analyze those reports.
How do you send out email marketing?
Right. How do you use the templates? How do I change the template to be
text message marketing?
Exactly. And how do I make this my own? There's just so much out there. How do I use the Facebook app? It's endless.
So again, look at them as part of your team.
Because all of a sudden now, that too many hats, really, under the Vagaro umbrella, it becomes one hat. This can really, really clarify your business for you.
And if you're not good with your financials, I will highly encourage you to get a bookkeeper. Highly encourage you, because they do this day in and day out, and a lot of them, it's a lot more expedient to pay somebody by the hour for the few hours a week to do that for you. Have it done well, then you rip your hair out. I have never done my own books right from day one in my business, because it's not my thing. So I think that's important. You need to have this team of people. If you are in your own business, I don't care how big or how small it is, you need to make sure that you have your taxes are taken care of.
That's a critical point.
Because I will tell you, I have truly, Aileen, the number one thing I saw out on the road coaching was that if somebody was going out of business, it's usually because they weren't paying their taxes.
Yes, and we do hear it pretty regularly from certainly some of the people we even call on today, some close friends even, who have gotten in trouble because they haven't.
You should know better.
Absolutely. And we've actually talked to people who it's happening to for like the second or third time. You'd think you'd learn from the first mistake, but no.
Sometimes you don't.
So the thing is that is part of your planning, is how much money are you going to put aside for your taxes, because they have to be paid.
Yeah. And really, I think that a great strategy is, and it's one that Aileen has used, is that money in, make sure you take the money that you're going to need for taxes and put it into a separate savings account.
Exactly, because then you will never get caught, and it's just sitting there. And sometimes at the end of the year, after everything washes out, maybe you've got a little bit of savings, maybe you've got a little bit of investment money to put into improvements in your business or whatever. So it's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
Just please do not get complacent about it. One of the other things we talked about too, Kath, was making sure you have a will.
Yes, absolutely. Anybody in business, you make sure you have a will and keep it updated.
Exactly. And if you're signing a lease, whether you're a chair renter or a big salon or whatever, check out what your responsibilities are when things change. And most of us think, oh, great, I've got my space. Here it is. Yeah. I'm signing my name at the way. And the wherefores and the herewiths and all that, you really don't understand.
Yeah. And we have seen we've seen one business that is a larger business this year, and they lost 2 locations.
Yes.
2 locations, and they were left holding the lease.
Yes. And what do you do with that, right? Because now all of a sudden, we're talking like a big chunk of money. Now they have to pay the lease on 2 other locations as well as their own. What do you think the chances are of this business continuing to succeed? Slim and
none. Yeah. So really make sure that you know if you need help in that, go find help. And I will tell you, Lease Negotiation in the US, Summit Salon Consulting Group, they have a department that just handles that. So if anybody needs help with lease negotiation, I think it's worth investing the money in doing that. So anyway, there's a shout out to Summit Consulting
That was
Group.
very nice of you. But, you know, and there are people that specialize in it. So it's worth the few $100s it might cost you to check it out, because you do not want to be caught. Don't get complacent.
And here's a biggie for me. Unrealistic expectations.
Well, that's a biggie for all of us, no matter what it is that we do. So we do have to rein ourselves in. Yeah. Let's be realistic on what's really going to happen in our business. Are you a chair renter? Okay, let's be realistic. How many clients do you need on your roster to give you a good living? If you're a large salon, same rule applies.
Same rule applies. It doesn't matter. I know how much I need every month to make a profit.
One of the salons that Kath and I worked with last year, they wanted to open up their own salon, and they were so excited. They'd found a great location in the downtown of their city, and said, oh my gosh, look, at all we need is $4,000 a month to break even. Isn't this great? Kath and I kind of looked at each other and looked at the potential salon owner. It took a deep breath and very, very quietly explained that really what he really needed per month was $28,000 to break even. So, you know, we often don't understand what it is that has to go into doing a business. So reach out and touch. Heck, send us an email, for goodness sakes, if you're getting ready to expand or open your own business or whatever. You know, we'll give you an idea of some of the costs that you have to take a look at. The unrealistic expectations is a huge.
Yeah. And I think unrealistic expectations often lead to burnout.
Yes.
I do think I'm seeing a lot of that. We've seen a lot of that in the last couple of years, Aileen, with the salon owners that we deal with, or even, you know, like chair renters that we deal with, because you have an unrealistic expectation of what you can accomplish. And, you know, really, I'm a mentor for a couple of different salon owners in the local area. And one of them asked if she could meet with me just a few weeks ago. And it was interesting because she started out her business. She has beautiful space, spent a lot of money on the space, started out her business. She had great ideas, everything written down. But sometimes things happen and, you know, you just don't know what's going to happen. So anyway, this girl is working. She's had 2 staff leave to move away. Somebody was going someplace else. So she's now down to herself and 2 young people. And she is working 12 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week almost. Plus she does, for a major hair company, she does education. And she is burning out, and she's meeting with me going like, I just think I want to get out. How do I get out? Mm-hmm. And I go, you just need to scale back.
Not just scale back, but go back to the beginning again. Like, she's created some unrealistic expectations. She's wearing too many hats because she's afraid to delegate her responsibilities. So there's all these other things that are going on. And sometimes it's a really good sit down or look in the mirror to see, okay, so what is it that really needs to change to make my business change? You don't have to get out. You have to renegotiate with yourself on what it is that you can and cannot do.
So does anybody that's listening feel that they resonate with any of these things? Because I'm telling you, the majority of people we're running into, a lot of them, that's what they're doing. They're burning out.
And we even find it with chair renters as well. And what happens often in a chair renting situation is that you start out as an independent operator, but all the people around you that you're working with become your competition. And all of a sudden there's all those other things that are going on in the background that make you feel challenged or pressured or whatever. And so even as a single operator, you can suffer from burnout because you're trying to drive your business within somebody else's business. And that is extremely difficult to do. And we've seen it over and over again. And so even as a single operator, you have to really think about your realistic expectations of what the business is going to bring you.
Yeah. And I always say, you know, if you are not good with you, you're no good to anyone.
Yeah, that's right.
You can't be any good to anyone. And one of the things that I learned to do in my business was to take what I called mental health days. And if I felt the pressure was getting too great, or I felt on the edge of that anxiety or burnout, I'd simply take a couple of days and down. That was my downtime. But in those days, it didn't mean that I wasn't working. I was just taking a step back, and some of my best ideas came to me when I had my mental health days. And I highly encourage everyone to think about taking some time for yourself. You need to get away. You have to get away to be able to think.
You do. I find for me, it's in the gym first thing in the morning is when my ideas come to me. It's like they just kind of flow through, but it's I'm doing something that's completely outside of the business. And it's amazing. It's kind of freeform thinking, isn't it? You know, and all of a sudden something arises and you think, oh my gosh, maybe I could use that to do this. So it's really, really important that you take time for yourself.
Hear, hear. So don't be afraid to do it. And that was one thing. The salon owner that I met with, she was so afraid to do that because she was afraid to lose any money in the business, which I completely understand. But I said to her, so what's your alternative? You're going to burn out and you're going to lose the business.
Yeah. And burnout is such an interesting thing, is because would you rather lose everything or renegotiate? And that's when we also talk about, we see a lot of burnout with control freaks.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, so you have to kind of look in the mirror and think, okay, am I a bit of a control freak that I want to do everything myself, that nobody else can do it as well as I can? And
sure.
So, you know,
and most A personalities are,
yep,
you know,
they tend to be control freaks. Right?
Totally. And Aileen and I are looking in the mirror here.
Yep.
For sure.
Let it go. Just let it go.
Yeah. You need to get help. You need to have a team of people helping you.
Right. And I hope that first of all, you've got 2 team members with you right here. You've got Kath and I, and you've also got Vagaro. I mean, talk about an amazing team.
Yeah. And
right? So we've got your back.
So we're only an email away for sure.
You got it.
All right. So let's go.
Next.
So I really believe that before we ever start anything, we should have the end in mind.
I totally agree.
Now, I didn't always know that. As I said, you know, my first couple of businesses that I owned, I definitely did not do that at all. It wasn't until I got into my planning mode when I almost lost everything that I realized that that is the strategy to have.
And it's kind of like bringing up children. I know that when I became a mom, I had an idea of the adult that I wanted my child to be, you know, the kind of person, the kind of character they would have. And so started kind of helping to plan their life. Not every day, but you know what I mean? It's like I had an end in mind. And I think that's exactly what we have to do with our business. We have to think, where is it that I'm going with this? Because it's great to say, hey, I think I'm going to go out and rent a chair. Good. Oh, good on you. Where's that going to take you? What's that going to do for you? Where are you going to be in 5 years? Is that going to buy you a house? Is that going to support you? There's so many questions. So you have to have a clear plan and
a contingency plan.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Because you never know what's going to happen. A number of years ago, I was a single mom raising 2 children, and I was in between businesses. So I was renting a space. And I thought, oh my goodness, what happens if I can't work? You know, because I had some disability insurance, but it didn't kick in for a long time. And typically in our industry, the disability insurance plans that we can get are not great.
No. They
don't like our industry.
Exactly, especially if you're working as a single operator.
Yeah, the risk management to that is pretty high. So anyway, I was really pondering this, and I had been approached to go into business with someone a couple of times. And anyway, I thought, you know what, this may just be the right time for me to do this. So I went back to the person and said, okay, let's sit down and talk. Upshot is that was in October. I bought into that business. In February, I had an accident on the ski slope and I fractured my collarbone.
Great injury for a stylist to have.
Absolutely. I used to always say, God, if I'm going to break anything, let it be a leg. Because I figured I could work sitting down. But you know, when it's your shoulder, your arm, you just can't work. Thank goodness I had some plan in place, because at least I was able to still get paid through the business.
Yes, because those are the devastating things. What happens, and it's so hard, especially with some of the things that are going on. But Catherine and I had the privilege of meeting a wonderful gentleman from the New Orleans area not too long ago, and he's a salon owner, and he survived Hurricane Katrina, and by that I mean he ended up with his business surviving. He lost his home. And initially, he had about 10 stylists and service providers working for him. And because of the hurricane and the damages caused, 7 of them had to leave the area and could no longer work. So it was, oh my gosh, not only have I lost my home, you know, how am I going to, you know, get this business going? You know, he still had all his financial obligations to meet. He still had the lease on his building and all these things. It was, and then the damages. Anyways, I like to think of him as kind of a phoenix, because he did manage with the 3 employees that were left to put together a new business plan and work it out. And I got to tell you, he's got a phenomenal business in the New Orleans area. And those are not things that you can plan for, right? You don't know that you're going to have a natural disaster in your area. And we've sure seen so many natural disasters in the States and Canada this past year.
Yeah. So it's great to have a clear plan in place to start with the end in mind, but you also have to build in contingency plans to those. And I particularly want to stress this because I feel really passionate about it. If you are a single operator, if you are a chair renter, you still must plan. You need to have a contingency plan. And one of the things that I highly encourage people to do is to train an associate.
You got it. Like
train somebody to help you out.
Absolutely. Because honestly, think about this. So you're renting one chair, right? And you do it for the first year. It's great. You know, you're a small business owner. Everything's going along. You do it for the second year. The third year, you're starting to yawn. The 4th year, you're thinking, oh, good grief. The 5th year, maybe you're bored out of your mind. What are you going to do? What does it look like?
Yeah. Find somebody. And I've mentored single operators in this strategy, and they have gone on to actually have small salons. Maybe it wasn't what they wanted in the beginning, but really when you look at it, it is a plan. Because if it's just you behind your chair, there's only so much you can do with one set of hands.
Exactly.
You know, whether you're behind your chair or whether you're in, you know, a facial room, there's only so much you can do with one set of hands. But if you have someone, again, that now you're a team.
You got it.
You can do more. And I was so fortunate because when I fractured my collarbone and I had gone into the business, there was an associate that I was, an assistant that I was working with, and she was able to do all of my blow dries. And 2 weeks after I fractured my collarbone, I was actually able to cut hair. I was cutting hair with my sling on.
I was just going to say, I'm just picturing this. This is a very good shot.
Yeah, no, I was on drugs, trust me. But I was cutting hair with my sling on. That's all I did. She applied color, but I kept my clients.
So think about this. If you are a single operator, or you are working if you don't have to spend, what are you going to do if something happens? And it's something, you guys, it's, you know, we're not the only ones, but it's something that so many of us forget to do. What are we going to do if something happens?
And we're not doom and gloom. We just want you to think about these things so you can have a plan in place. And oftentimes, if you're a chair renter, you don't think about hiring somebody else to work beside you. And then eventually, they may want to, you know, get the client base of their own.
Yeah.
So now you have two.
Exactly. And, you know, it's a fabulous way to sort of start your business growth and pure, you know, you can go on to incredible things. We have a friend who sees about 17 clients a day. I think 17 clients a day. We have others who really struggle with 5 or 3, but 17 clients a day. It's because of the associates that he has working for him. He's really become the sort of the director of the associates, you might say.
Absolutely.
But the other thing that having somebody work for you does is it also gives you somebody to mentor. And this is one thing that I feel really passionate about, is that when we share our knowledge, it's like a gift, because that comes back to us. Because every time we open our mouth to share a nugget of knowledge, we are sending some positive vibrations out, and it's amazing what comes back. And it's incredible what it also does for our clients when they're sitting in our chairs, because they hear us sharing our skills, and they love that.
Yeah, and it was interesting. Just a few weeks ago, I was talking to a hairdresser friend of ours. And she had her own business, struggled with it, really had some struggles with it, ended up basically closing it down and going and renting a little studio by herself. And when I talked to her a few weeks ago, she went, you know, I really love that it's small and I'm doing this, but I am lonely.
Yes.
And so my suggestion to her was hire an associate. Hire an associate, somebody you can train, because there's enough room in here for 2 of you.
Yes.
And then you know, it's somebody, if you go on vacation, they can be there. I think we just have to really think about a different way of doing business.
You got it. And this is really what we're talking about, a different way to do business when we're asking you to start with the end in mind.
Yeah. Because
in the end, how will you get out of your business?
Yes. How will you get out of your business? What do we see now?
Well,
again, for lease.
Yeah, we see, and that's what's happened. I've got, as you can probably imagine, quite a few good friends who are also at the end of their careers. And it's been really, really sad watching them get out of their business. One of my friends had a pretty big salon, 10 or 12 employees, and she couldn't sell it. And she ended up having to wait out a lease, a really long-term lease, before she could get out of it. And by this time, she ended up being like 72 or 73 years old, but basically got no money out of her salon for all the years that she'd been a salon owner. And I just thought that was really sad.
Yeah, and you can't even really sell used furniture.
No,
you know,
it has no value, and there really is no goodwill, right? So let's talk about how we do that. How do we get out of our businesses?
Well, and I can tell you a little bit about mine.
Because I think this is a really good example.
Yeah, I think it's an example that can work for anyone, actually. So in mine, I have a really big business, and a number of years ago, once I started putting all my plans in place, one of the things my husband said to me, "What is it that you have to sell? Because right now you're just going to sell yourself." Mm-hmm. And that was and nobody's going to buy because you want to get out. So that was really where I started with all of this. And I put a plan in place to sell my business to some of my key employees. So I started a leadership program within my salon. So anybody that was interested in leadership, brought them on. I started with 7 people. And then 4 of those people ended up buying shares in the company. But
one of the important things that Kath did here is, in developing the leadership program, is it really sort of separated the wheat from the chaff, right? So it really gave an indication. She set out some training for these people on business administration and all the things that go on behind the scenes in our business. So she started to train these people and to see which one of them which ones were interested and which ones showed interest in different areas. Yeah. And then from there,
they bought shares. And there's a specific way I did it. There's lots of different ways that you can do it. But it's just, having that goal in mind. And for me, what was great is that I wanted to move out to the West Coast. So I was able to do that and still have an exit strategy in place. And I would fly back every month in the beginning, and then it, got less and less. And now I rarely go.
Skype.
I actually Skype with my shareholders, and my husband and I at this point own a little less than 50% of our business, and we do none of the day-to-day operations. But I honestly would never have got out of that business had we not set up something like this.
It's had a plan. And the other thing you have to think about too is it's not an exit strategy, it's a succession strategy. If you've got a family business, who's going to take over? Not every child wants to do what their parent is doing. So you have to really carefully take a look at not only your exit strategy, but perhaps a succession strategy. And there is so much information out there about both of these topics. So, and perhaps it's something we could cover at another issue, but succession strategy is slightly different from your exit.
Yes, absolutely. But, I don't think it's just big salon owners that can do this. I mean, what I talked about, if you're a chair renter and you grow an associate into a partner,
yes,
your client base has value.
And oh my gosh, Kath, thank you so much, because this has got to be the one thing that we forget about, is that's where our value is. Our value is in the clients that sit in our chairs, and that's the goal.
Yeah, and that's why Vagaro works, because you're collecting customer information. Now, one thing I will tell you, be diligent about the information you collect.
You got it.
Because that's your gold mine right there. Your client list is your gold mine. And that's the difference between the people that are serious and the people that are not, is that the people that are serious understand that their clients are where the value is. It's not in your furniture.
No,
it's not in your tools. It's not in it's the client list that's gold.
And so, if you're a chair renter, I would recommend that you have your own Vagaro application and collect your own client information, because as a chair renter, you are an independent business owner. But if you allow the salon in general to collect the information, how hard is it going to be able to take that information with you if and when you leave? So please really think very seriously about this. If you are an independent owner, think about having your very own Vagaro application,
yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, and you're as a chair renter, your exit or succession strategy can be to bring somebody in and train them.
You got it.
And that's as simple as that. But you have a plan in place. You have the end in mind.
For sure. And maybe that end in mind is
it's
after 5 years or whatever, and you've brought on an associate and you say, well, look, I'm going to sell you my client list. There you go.
Plain and simple. You now have somebody who you can do that with.
But you've got something you've got value. You have something to sell now.
Excellent. All righty. So moving right along.
Ta-da! From start to finish.
Absolutely. It's great to start something, but we have to have a clear vision of the finish line.
Absolutely. And I think about I've been reading a lot about some of the drivers in the Formula races in Europe. And, I think about the planning that goes into a race like that. And of course, the screen that we've got up here, of course, really automatically makes you think of like a road race. And everything is planned from the pit stops. They talk about how fast they can change their tires. They talk about all those things. Catherine, I think about your husband, Rick, and planning for the triathlons that he does. You think about the planning that he does, but what he thinks about every single time he's out there is he envisions the finish line and crossing it. And I think that sometimes athletes have a real advantage over us as business people because they are so geared to envisioning their goals and the finish line.
Well, they're so focused.
Exactly. And we have to do the same thing. We have to start being really, really focused and passionate about how we're going to finish the race.
Yeah, and that's one thing that, in my business, when I really started to pay attention to my goals, it was all about focus. It was focusing on where I was today, but focusing on where I saw the finish line being. And, it stood me well I mean, I've gone from a small business to a multi-million-dollar business, and I will not kid you, there are always struggles in any kind of business. But the reason I am where I am today is because of the focus and the goals and the planning.
And remember, you know, this little black and white check flag that we've got flying in the middle of this page, this is the middle. And these are all the things. It's great to get the start and it's great to envision. But remember, where the race is run is right through the middle.
Yeah. And that is where we see most people drop off, because their vision of the finish line has not been clear enough, not been focused enough. Please, if you are experiencing any of these struggles, we would be happy to answer any emails. I know we get emails every time we do one of these webinars. We get emails after. I hope everybody, you know, enjoys what we send them. We usually always answer you back, sometimes faster than others because oftentimes we're on the road. But please send your questions. If you have anything that we can help you with, we would be happy to do that.
And actually, we've got a few minutes. We've got so excited we spoke really fast.
I know, we tend to do that.
So if anybody has any questions that they would like to address right now, please send them to us in the chat, and we'll see if we can answer them. Ta-da!
Yeah. And Ken, thank you for you sent us some things last time after the webinar. I really appreciated it.
That's excellent. Thanks for being here. And if nobody has any questions, let's go on to the next slide, Catherine.
Oh yeah, to tell you how to get in touch with us.
Here we are. We are www.theprofitablesalonowner.com. And one of the things that we do is we put out a newsletter, a business newsletter every single week that's absolutely free. All you have to do is go onto our homepage at www.theprofitablesalonowner.com and sign up for that newsletter. It's great tips and information. And you can always send us an email to
info@theprofitablesalonowner.com.
Yes, and either Catherine and I will get back to you as soon as we possibly can. Perhaps not today because I think there's turkey in our future.
Yes, it's Thanksgiving here and we're going off to spend some of the day with our families.
You got it. So thank you so much, everybody, for being with us today. Thank you, Vagaro, for having us. We look forward to seeing you all next month. Be there.
And we are grateful.
We are so grateful
that you have stayed with us and listened to us. And we hope you took one golden nugget out of this presentation, because taking one golden nugget is a success.
You got it.
But act on it.
You got it. Thanks, everybody. Have a great month. We'll see you next month. Take care.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.